Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. That's Joe Smith. This is a review of Manchester United's draw in Europe with Fenerbahçe, 1-1. Another frustrating night for the Reds, to be honest with you. We went ahead with Christian Eriksen's goal. Fenerbahçe equalised. Jose Mourinho got sent to the stands. It was all happening, but nothing really positive, as United have now gone a full year without a win in Europe. It's our worst European run, in 40 years, I think it is, over 40 years. And we sit 21st in the Europa League group. Joseph, give me something to cheer about, because I'm feeling very, very deflated.
Not a lot of positives in what you just said there, is there? I mean, no positives whatsoever. The United's general form in Europe, this whole sort of over a year thing is bad, but we've been pretty shit in Europe for 10 years, haven't we, if we're honest?
Yeah.
No semi-finals, Champions League-wise in that time. We've sort of done all right in the Europa League a handful of times, and we're not out of the groups or anything yet, so that could still go on to happen. But we've lost some easy, winnable games over and over and over again under different managers at different times, and Ten Hag's no different. It's not been good enough, and I suppose that if you were looking for positives, a draw away at Fenerbahçe isn't the worst result in the world, but it's when it's off the back of not winning that game, winning one of the last sort of 13 European games or whatever it is, that's when it's just shocking. Like, okay, if we'd have won the rest and this was a draw, okay, fair enough. We know we've got 7 points or whatever. We've got 3 points. We haven't won a game in Europe yet. And United obviously need to turn that around, but it's just this thing in it that every time you think, okay, we beat Brentford and looked a bit better in the second half, and then today was just a sort of weird performance. It wasn't a bad one. It wasn't that kind of shambolic, everyone all over the place stuff that we saw against Porto, and I'm not going to pretend like it was. It wasn't that bad, but it just is a sort of performance, the sort of game where if we had a decent bit of quality in the final third, we'd have won comfortably tonight. Fenerbahçe were all right. They had a couple of decent chances. The goal they scored was bizarre because no one even challenged him for it. He's got a free header 6 yards out or 7 yards out, and neither of our centre-backs even jumped for the ball, let alone win it. But I just think a bit of quality tonight and we'd have won this comfortably. The amount of misplaced passes from Xerxes and Garnacho and Rashford and Dalot with that one where he should have pulled it back to Rashford on the penalty spot, and instead it's a yard and a half in front of him. Like, they're just lacking quality. I don't know if they're tired or if they're just sort of, it's a confidence thing or whatever it is, but I just thought we just should have won, and we didn't again.
Yeah, I agree. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Let us know what you think. Hit that like button as well, please, people. You might not like the result or the performance, but you can like the video. Samuel Picken says the lack of desperation is at the end. Is what hurt. BMW Racing 1974 says what's up with Ahmad. I don't know. He just seems to just briefly. I don't look too deeply into it, but not been sort of top of the manager's list. I mean, loads of people in the comments, loads of people. It's funny because it's quite a divide. Some people saying, oh, it's not the end of the world, and other people saying just how crap it all is. I mean, it's just not good enough, really. It really isn't. That's the crux of it. And this is, like you said, Joe, if this was just like, say this was the opening game of this season in Europe, you go, okay, Fenerbahçe away from home, you're leading, you should have won, but it's not the end of the world. But we were shocking in Europe last season, like terrible. And then this season, we've had the lead against FC20, we drew, 2-goal lead against Porto, we drew, and a lead against Fenerbahçe, we drew. We're 21st in the table, and just to give a bit of context to that, just looking at it now in this big, massive, never-ending group.
Shambolic system that Europe has found itself in the football terms. So
we've got the same amount of points as the likes of Victoria Pilsen, IF Elfsborg, Ferencvaros, AZ Alkmaar, Malmo, Braga, Besiktas. And we're below the likes of Hoffenheim, Roma, Sociedad, Slava Prague, Porto, Fenerbahçe above us, FCSB, Olympiacos, Rangers are above us, Lyon, Bodo Glimt. I'm not going to go through the whole fucking table, but you get the idea. It has been just poor. It's just not entertaining to watch, to be honest with you. And I just feel like, listen, Erik ten Hag isn't going to lose his job because Manchester United drew with Fenerbahçe, right? That's not a thing, and it won't be a thing. But deflating results stack up, and this manager needs a run. He needs a run of good games. We had a good game against Brentford. You need to build on that, and we didn't tonight, and that's the frustrating thing. Now, if we win at the weekend against West Ham, people will forget about this game, but they will. but you need to start getting a bit of a run together. You need to make something happen, because at the minute it just feels like we're in October. It almost feels like we're in May and we're out of everything. Yeah, that's the atmosphere feels like we're almost done, and we're not done.
We're still in every competition. We could still get top 4. I think we're only 5 points behind Arsenal, who are a title challenger. I know 5 points is quite a lot, 8 games into a season, but we're weirdly more in it than it feels like we are. There is a real deflation to the fan base and just to being a Manchester United fan at the moment that is partly because of, I think, people are getting sick of the manager, they're getting sick of some of these players. I think there's this kind of divisiveness of you have to declare yourself Ten Hag in or Ten Hag out and never change your mind and never differentiate. If you don't like Ten Hag, you can never you can never say anything good about him. And if you think he's the right guy, you're never allowed to criticise him. Otherwise, you're a hypocrite or you're a charlatan, whatever. When really, like you said, what we need now is a run. And if beating Brentford and drawing to Fenerbahçe, that could be the start of a run. This isn't a terrible result tonight, but because we've seen so much in the last 18 months, where actually this is basically what it's like every week, where it's a sort of slightly flat performance, not terrible, we're not an awful side, but it's just not quite there. The expectation is every game's going to be like this. But if we go on and win 6 of the next 8, you can have a look. Wow, look at that, look. United are 10 games unbeaten. Great run. But it's just because it feels like this is just more of the same. And it's the same thing of we're not winning in Europe and it's against beatable sides when we're the better team. We've got the better squad. We've got, everything in our hands and we're not winning. But I do think away at Fenerbahçe, a 1-1 draw isn't a disaster. But when you stack up the last 12 months or 14 months in Europe, it's just been shocking, hasn't it? Yeah. And it's just more of that, and you put it on that list rather than going, undefeated in Europe, if you want to look at it that way.
I don't even forget the analysis, right, just for a second. Forget all the sort of the tactics, the summing up,
the details,
the how we played, the results, where we are in the table. Just as a fan, just as the emotion, just as the feeling. When it's like Tuesday and Wednesday and you're watching Arsenal and City and Liverpool winning Champions League games and Villa are top of the table and all that, and then it comes to United and it's just another game we haven't won in Europe. As a feeling, it just feels shit. Yeah, it does. And I'm not going to lose my mind, because I've seen United lose a lot more important games and a lot more deflating results, or lose games against teams even worse than Fenerbahçe. So it's not like the Fenerbahçe result is going to send me over there and that's it. This is the worst thing that's ever happened to me or nothing. But as a feeling, it just feels a bit shit in a minute. Yeah. Because you're like, fucking hell, United, just get going. What I mean? Like, I don't want to sort of flip through my telly on a Tuesday and a Wednesday and seeing Scouts and City fans celebrating or moaning because they've only scored 4. And we're here giving away leads again. Get a grip and get on with it. We've got good players. Yeah. I never will buy into this idea, right, that Manchester United haven't got good players. I think we have. If you look at that team, and there's some real quality there, but for whatever reason, it's not happening consistently enough at the minute, and it needs to. Because it's only October, there's a whole fucking load of trophies there to go out and play for, and even under this manager, whether you rate him or not, we've won trophies. Do you know what I mean? You've got players there that are capable of winning things, so we should be challenging for things. And I'm not deluded enough to think we're going to be challenging for titles anytime soon, but we can certainly win something. And if we can finish the season with some silverware, we'll be all right with that. Yeah. I'll get in some of the chat and I'll come back to you, my brother. Yeah, Jamie Lomas has been a member of the let's start again. He's been a member of the first team for 7 months. Let's be honest, it's another piss poor showing against substandard European opposition. A win at home to Brentford changed nothing. Ten Hag out. This is my Roderick. Irish papers reported Xavi Hernandez could replace Ten Hag. Would you take Xavi, or what's your opinion on him as United manager? We spoke about this last night. And not for me. Someone's crowd police said, guys comparing us to the likes of City and Arsenal isn't the way to go. I'm not comparing us. I'm saying now, I just fucking said that. So then when you're flicking through and you're seeing they're all winning and you're not, as a fan, it gives you that shit feeling.
And also,
I'm not comparing us to them.
You can compare us to them.
I know, but that's not what I did.
But I know you didn't, but him saying it's not the way to go, I don't even agree with that. Yeah. What are we going to compare ourselves to? Are we just going to sit here and pretend that the aim is to be fucking Fulham? Like, what is, like, the aim is to be... I mean, past Arsenal, they've won fuck all in 5 years. The aim is to do what Man City are doing, what United did in the sort of era before City. Like, of course you're going to compare yourself to them. Yeah. They're our rivals. They have been, in Arsenal's case, in terms of who's won the most titles. They've been in and around the United number for 100 years. It's not like it's bizarre. We should want to be like that.
I know.
And we spend like they do. We have the history of a better than either of those two teams. Why wouldn't we want to be like that? We can't be embarrassed that we want to win titles. I mean, Arsenal aren't even winning titles.
Falcons Shuffle 24, I agree. Players and managers are meant to have goldfish memories to give out their best performances, but fans are holding them to 18 months ago. Sound. I mean, it's just, on the whole, over the last 18 months, it's just not been great, has it? Hashad says, Garnacho doesn't win second ball, shoots from outside the box, misplaces the passes. One thing I will say, I'm not going to say that on TV, I don't want to put a positive spin on it, but Andre Onana's being interviewed. Andre Onana pulled off some great saves, especially in that first half. He's looked decent this season after the few question marks around him. So I think he can hold his eye. I think Christian Eriksen, obviously, for his goal, he's continued his good form. One or two players who did all right tonight, but just too many players who gave you a 5 or a 6 out of 10. Yeah. That's the issue you've got.
And I think with Garnacho, he's a frustrating youngster. On a, and there's been a long line of them. Some of them go on to be Cristiano Ronaldo. Some of them go on to be, I don't even know, Adnan Januzaj or whatever, and he's had a decent career. Like, frustrating youngsters are a thing, and part of being a youngster is you don't get it right a lot, and it can be annoying to watch when your club need a goal and you're just smacking it from 22 yards straight to the keeper over and over and over again, which is what he does. But then occasionally he pops up with a goal like he did against Brentford. And he is manufacturing shots for himself, and you have to give him some credit for that. But he is a kid who makes poor decisions quite a lot. And ideally, you wouldn't be relying on him to start week in, week out and be your most productive winger so far. What is it, 8 goals and assists this season?
Yeah.
Like, in a dream world, he's coming off the bench. Yeah. And sometimes that decision-making, which is going to be erratic and going to be flawed, shouldn't be something that you go, you start 45 games for us this season. You should have more experienced, maybe better quality players starting in front of him and slowly bringing him through when that kind of decision-making is acceptable. Because too often for United, we aren't in a position where someone shooting from 25 yards out 8 times in a game is actually particularly helpful. Yeah. But we haven't got anyone better on the bench to do anything different. So you can't really blame him, but that's what we see out of him.
It's so divided in the comments. Some people saying, cheer up, it's not that bad. It's not a bad result, away from home. Others saying, you're deluded if you think this is okay. We're dreadful to watch. Yeah. I mean, it just shows where we're at in a minute. A lot of people mentioning as well, Amad Diallo. Why isn't he not getting more minutes? Maybe there's something like that, how fit he is. Maybe there's something, the element of the manager's trying to mix it up a little bit, give other people an opportunity. I like Diallo. I'd like to see him sort of, if he's not starting, I'd at least like to see him be the first choice substitute, if that makes sense. We'll see at the weekend whether he gets more minutes. Anthony came on, got injured.
Yeah, I hope he's all right.
A few people are having to dig at him as well about the fact that he sort of sat down on the pitch rather than getting up. But I don't know whether that was, I don't know, to be honest with you. I just don't fucking know. Do you know what? Just before we wrap up, Ross Murphy says Ugarte needs a mention, was my man of the match
he was
tonight.
Good tonight, Ugarte.
What did you make of Ugarte? Did you like Ugarte?
Yeah, a couple of misplaced passes, but I would say it's his best performance for United. He made some good tackles, was in and around the right place a lot. Obviously, phenomenal block that wasn't on the goal line, but he was the last man. If he's not there, we might well lose this game tonight. I think that was a good performance all around from Ugarte, and probably his best for United so far. So fair play to him.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Well, let's back this up with a win now. If we go into that West Ham game and win that game, and then we win the next game in Europe, I can't remember who we've got next. Is it PAOK next? Or it's a Greek team next, isn't it? And then we've got Bodo Glimt. Win those two, all of a sudden, you're on 9 points after 5 games. Everything's fine. These sorts of results aren't terrible in isolation. It's like I said, it's after the year we've had in Europe where it's just diabolical. If we can back this up now with 3 wins in a row, Europa League, League Cup, things feel very different. But these things have to start happening now, because otherwise, like we keep saying, this season's going to get away from us, this manager's going to get away from us, and things are going to be bad. But a 1-1 draw away against Fenerbahçe isn't the end of the world. It just isn't. But we have to start winning games now. We have to.
Yeah, you're right. We do. We have to start winning games. I know we've said this a few times.
We have, and that's the problem.
Greg Cooper says, just to say, appreciate you lads. Calm, level-headed analysis. Can't ask for more. Thank you
very much, Greg.
I appreciate you, bro. We're going to be back here from Stephen Howson. Obviously, we've got the West Ham game coming up as well. We'll have to look forward to that later on in the week. We'll have the news in the morning as well. So make sure you are hitting like, share, and subscribe. That's been Joe Smith. Go and check out the Sloppy Joe's podcast. I'm Jay Motty. This has been a review of Manchester United. Another disappointing night in Europe. Just keeps happening, doesn't it? Thanks for watching.